Also, its suitability for the marathon. So I'm not too sure if this geometry is going to be too friendly for those later stages in the marathon. So just a couple runs done and dusted in this one. Now this is the HOKA Cielo X1 2.0, and these are my first impressions. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the running company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so this one is a neutral road racing shoe, and coming in at Australia at a pretty hefty price here, so $400 or $275 in the US. Now in the weight, not too bad here, or especially in my size, so 7.5 ounces or 212 grams, and that's in my men's size 8.5. Now in the stack, we've got 40 in the rear, 33 in the front, and that's going to give us a 7mm drop. And in the upper, so the material that they're using here is a engineered jacquard mesh. Now the material itself, it's got that really plasticky, sheeny type feeling. The mesh is super fine, and to be quite honest, it doesn't come across as the most breathable shoe because I'm not getting much airflow in it. The material sort of reminds me of the vapor weave that they used to use in the Vaporfly 1. But as I said, breathability could be better. In our heel counter here, it's pretty solid. It's not a solid cap, but there's a fair bit of structure in our heel collar here. We've got a nice little Achilles flare, which I love. Probably, I would say, minimal to a medium amount of padding here. So it's probably got, for a race shoe, it's got quite a lot of padding, which I like. Super thin tongue here. The tongue is not gusseted, and the tongue is made out of this stretchy engineered warp knit. Although the tongue's not gusseted, I'm not having an issue with it folding around or going flat. I do have a little issue with the top of it folding over, but it doesn't worry me whatsoever. Now with the lacing system, it is pretty standard here, so there's no little cables or internal straps or anything like that. But what I will mention is the laces, the choice of laces, so they are really thick and robust, with, again, I think it seems like a bit of a strange choice on a race shoe when you want to cut down on weight. But overall, the laces tie up fine. They haven't come undone. The lockdown in this shoe is excellent, like absolutely excellent. Everywhere from the heel all the way through the foot, I'm getting one of the best lockdowns I've felt in any type of race shoe. Now in the fit, I'm going to say true to size in the length. And I know this is a HOKA and they always come up narrow. But I'm going to say in the width, it certainly is a performance fit. It is narrow, but for me, I'm not feeling squished. So I think this fit, for a performance fit for me, especially coming from HOKA, is just right. Now, build quality here is excellent. I can't see a thread out of place. I can't see any glue. And the stepping comfort, well, you don't really worry about the stepping comfort of a race shoe, but I tell you what, when you step in this shoe and you walk around in it, it's got some real wow factor. And in the outsole, so the rubber that they're using here is what they call their sticky rubber. Now, coverage-wise, we've got a fair bit of it, so pretty much the majority of the forefoot there is covered. We've got some exposed foam through the middle of the shoe, and they've got that sticky rubber in the high wear areas at the back. Now, the rubber itself, it's still pretty thin, and it does feel different to the rubber that they've used in other shoes. So I'm not too sure if it's a different compound altogether, but I will say, to the touch, it feels quite different. Now, I haven't had a chance to run in this shoe in the wet yet, but in the dry, it does feel quite tacky and sticky. What else? Well, we've got here in the midsole, so we've got some fair crazy cutouts through the midsole. So you can see here, there's really a deep crevice that's going like from the arch all the way down through the rear, so that's really going to let that midsole splay. And also we've got some cutouts here. I believe that's just to save some weight, and you can see that exposed plate through the bottom as well. But performance-wise, at this early stage, no issues whatsoever. And in the midsole, so there is a little bit going on here. So what they're using here is a dual density PEBA midsole. Well, that just means that there's two types of that PEBA foam in this midsole. That one is softer than the other. So our softest layer is the top layer. So where you can see the blue layer here in my shoe. So yeah, to the touch you can feel it. It's a lot softer and a lot squishier, certainly than that bottom layer of foam. So the bottom layer of that PEBA foam is that white stuff there, and it also incorporates most of the heel area at the rear, and it certainly feels a little bit more firm, and that's going to give you a little bit more bounce and a little bit more responsiveness. Now, sandwiched between those two layers of that PEBA foam, they've got a winged carbon plate. Really unique shape here. So it's got like a fork in the rear of the shoe, and then it's got these little wings or these little tips that curl up through around the midfoot, and then it sort of flattens out through the middle, and it's got these little cutouts. But rigidity-wise, this certainly isn't as stiff as some of the other carbon-plated shoes on the market, because there is a little bit of flex in this shoe, as you can see there. Now, the geometry of this shoe is really where this thing comes into its own, I think, because it does really remind me of the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 1 in the geometry. So it's got a pretty aggressive heel bevel or a rear rocker at the back, and then most of the foam and the curvature is certainly through the middle, like the beefiness of that midsole is all through the midsole here. Then a really early and aggressive forefoot rocker to make it really easy to get onto, and you can certainly feel a big roll forward feeling in this shoe. And in the ride, so the first word that is coming to mind here is fast. It is super fast, so especially when you are getting onto this rocker and your foot is squishing into that forefoot there, because there is a lot of squish and there's a lot of pop on that forefoot, and it just works perfectly with the geometry of this shoe. So for my foot strike, so I'm hitting this nice meaty part here through the middle, and then that rocker is rolling me forward, and it's pushing me right into this soft squishy foam, and as I'm rolling out of the rocker, I'm getting this this amazing amount of propulsion, this amazing amount of pop and responsiveness as I toe off. Yeah, it's got a lot of wow factor, this shoe. It's very comfortable, and I was sort of racking my brain trying to think, what does this shoe remind me of? What does the ride remind me of, especially through the forefoot, because there's not many other race shoes on the market where you get this much enjoyment and this much pop and this much propulsion out of the forefoot without it being without something being a little bit off about it. So it just came to me one night in bed, and this is what this shoe reminds me of. So it is a mix between the Mizuno Wave Rebellion 1, certainly in the geometry department it feels very similar, and it's got a really similar cutout through the bottom. But in the forefoot, it reminds me of the OG Vaporfly 1, so that propulsion, that sink, and that power I feel through toe off, that is what this reminds me of. So yeah, for me it's a bit of a hybrid between that Wave Rebellion 1 and the Vaporfly 1, and I know now that's why I'm loving this shoe. So this ride is amazing. So yeah, I can't talk highly enough about it, is because it just feels so fast, so comfortable, so propulsive, so bouncy. But for me, yeah, the magic's in the geometry and the forefoot. What it's going to probably struggle at, I think, is stability for a lot of people. So if there is some heavy heel strikers out there, we've got a really narrow base at the back, and obviously these cutouts make it a little bit unstable if you're going to try to hit through the rear foot. So I don't think that this shoe is going to be for you, but for other people, if you can not put too much force through that heel and you start landing on this midfoot and really get onto this forefoot, yeah, this shoe is an animal. So yeah, great signs early on. I'm in love with the ride, if you can't tell already. And for my likes, of course, I've just mentioned the ride. I love the comfort of the shoe as well, and also I just love the look of the shoe, something really different. And what I'm still trying to figure out in this shoe is certainly their choice of laces to use in the shoe. So for me, they're a bit too beefy, a bit too robust, a bit too bulky, especially to be used in a race shoe. You think they would have just toned them down a little bit. Also, its suitability for the marathon. So I'm not too sure if this geometry is going to be too friendly for those later stages in the marathon. I think a lot of people are going, when they start landing through the heel, are going to find this shoe a little bit unstable. And also the choice of upper material. So I think, as I said, breathability is not the best. It could be better. Why wouldn't they just punch just a standard mesh through the toe box here, just to make it a little bit more breathable? And dislikes, it's got to be that $400 price point. That is craziness. So just from a few runs, I already know that this is a very special shoe. If you ask me right now what my favorite race day shoe is, I'm going to tell you this. So this is my number 1 pick at the moment, except for the marathon. So half marathon, 10K, 5K, this is my pick. It's beating the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 by Puma. It's beating the Asics Metaspeed Sky, Paris, the Edge. What else? It's better than the Vaporfly. I'd pick this over the Alphafly for the shorter distances. That's just how much I rate this shoe. Moving forward, am I going to use it in my next marathon? I definitely am not going to use it, and that's just because of this heel area. So just be cautious of the heel if you are a really heavy heel striker. So if you just glance through the heel like I do, and most of your force goes through the midfoot, then I think this shoe is going to be fine for you guys. If you're a 4-foot striker, you're going to absolutely love this shoe. If you need any type of stability, I'd probably steer clear of this shoe. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Special shoe here. Can't wait to run in this again. I pretty much get excited if I'm going to run in this shoe the next day. That's how much I love it. Any questions regarding this shoe? Just put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.